The three hackers are Iranian nationals residing in Iran. As outlined in our indictment, the defendants, Masoud Jalili, Saeed Ali Agamiri, and Yasir Balaghi, conspired with others to deploy a years-long, wide-ranging hacking operation on behalf of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC. The operation targeted the email accounts of current and former American public officials, journalists, and most recently, individuals associated with U.S. political campaigns. The defendants' own words make clear that they were attempting to undermine former President Trump's campaign in advance of the 2024 U.S. presidential election. We know that Iran is continuing its brazen efforts to stoke discord, erode confidence in the U.S. electoral process, and advance its malign activities to the IRGC, a designated foreign terrorist organization. The Justice Department is committed to countering the threat that Iran poses to our democracy, to our national security, and to our allies in the international community. As we approach the upcoming election, I want to reiterate that the Justice Department will not tolerate attempts by Iran or by any foreign power to interfere in our elections and undermine our democracy.
This is Michael Popok for the new Legal AF YouTube channel. Take a moment, free subscribe, hit that oval button, and help us get to 200,000 subscribers before Halloween. We're doing this in collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, and I'm curating those top stories at the intersection of law and politics. You just heard our Attorney General Merrick Garland talk about a new indictment that just got unsealed in the District of Columbia against people, bad guys, hackers working for the Iranians and the Iranian National Guard to try to hurt the Trump campaign. But broader, bigger picture, take the plane up 10,000 feet and look down. This is bad guys, foreign actors trying to influence our elections. And the Department of Justice, when it's run by somebody like Merrick Garland and Joe Biden, and in the future Kamala Harris, they're sober, they're adults. They don't want election interference regardless of who's benefited from it. It's not like, well, it's the Democrats are going to be benefited by this, so we'll look the other way and not prosecute these bad guys. I mean, that's what Donald Trump wants you to believe. That's his whole lawfare, his whole weaponization of the Department of Justice theory that he posits. Why do they only go against me? Why am I the only former president that's being prosecuted for things that he did? Because you're the only former president that committed crimes while in the White House and on the way out. And so there is no weaponization or lawfare going on. If there were, I wouldn't be here doing a hot take about Mr. Jalili, Mr. Agamiri, and Mr. Balaghi, who are sitting in Iran, are now indicted in America with an 18-count felony conviction because they tried to break into and successfully infiltrate the Trump campaign, steal documents from it, and send it over to the Biden-Harris campaign. Spoiler alert, the Biden-Harris campaign did not, it may have been sent to them, but they certainly didn't use it, and the Department of Justice has said so. Even Donald Trump doesn't think that this is an example of a bad Department of Justice, and in fact, he recently complimented them.
Well, they're looking at it, and they're doing it very professionally, and it looks like it's Iran doing it, because Iran is no friend of mine, and, a lot of bad signals get sent. But it looks like it's Iran doing it, and the reason is because I was strong on Iran, and I was protecting people in the Middle East that maybe they aren't so happy about that.
If the Department of Justice is being weaponized against Donald Trump and lawfare which is a made-up term I never heard of in 33 years of practice, is being practiced against Donald Trump, then they're doing a terrible job at it at the Department of Justice. Did Merrick not get the memo? He shouldn't be prosecuting these guys because it may be helpful to Kamala Harris. Why in the last year have I done hot take after hot take, including recently, about Democrats being prosecuted by the Department of Justice? How does that fit with the theory? Hunter Biden, prosecuted and indicted twice by the special counsel working for the Department of Justice. Mayor Adams of New York, right? First mayor in the history of New York in 250 plus years to be indicted while in office. A Democrat, okay? The would-be assassin of Donald Trump, the one that lived. Already indicted and arraigned in front of Judge Cannon, of all things, in Florida, right? Why did they do that? Well, he seemed like a mentally ill person. Let's skip the indictment. Come on. This is what's happening here. This is how a sober and appropriate and reliable Department of Justice operates. Let me read to you, because it's really interesting, almost sexy, in what these Iranians are charged with doing. And that also reflects the fact that there's an indictment returned by a grand jury in D.C. also reflects the counterintelligence and intelligence communities and their operation to bring these people to justice. We hack the hackers, is in other words. Shows you how strong our cybersecurity intelligence community is, our wiretapping, our foreign assets, our cooperating foreign assets, our double agents and agents overseas infiltrating into Iran. And Iran is the baddest of bad guys in the axis of evil. They always have been. Hamas, supported by Iran. Hezbollah, supported by Iran. Right? These are just, what we're watching in the Middle East right now is just a proxy war. It's just a proxy war. It's really Iran masquerading as Hamas. It's really Iran masquerading as Hezbollah. And now Iran deciding, let's F with America and their elections and put Americans at each other's throats, and we'd rather have Biden and Harris than Trump for whatever reason. Just as the Russians would rather have Trump. See, they're all lined up and arrayed, but the bottom line, what we're trying to prevent, what our hair should be on fire about, as alarms sound outside my window in New York, live recording, everybody, is foreign interference in our elections. And it takes many different forms. One, turning as an asset a candidate like Donald Trump through flattery, through investment in his businesses and his son-in-law's businesses around the world, buying his $100,000 watches, joining his $1 million memberships at Mar-a-Lago. Got a financially vulnerable, demented guy running for president. Believe me, our enemies and our frenemies see that as an advantage to exploit. That's one. Two, foreign money illegally invested into our campaigns through straw men. That's one of the reasons Eric Adams will no longer be the mayor of New York, is because he had his hand out to even our allies to try to bring in money into his campaign, and that's illegal in our country. I know it's hard to believe. We've opened the fire hose of money from corporations, but they got to be American corporations, not foreign. So we got to keep foreign money out. And the use of social media and disinformation, misinformation campaigns to put American voters at each other's throats and spread lies about one party or the other or both parties. And then you've got this level of hacking, good old-fashioned hacking, where it looks like we've hacked back and caught them. Let me read to you from page 2 of the indictment, just got unsealed. Beginning in and around January of 2020, so you see how long this investigation's been going on, and continuing through at least September of 2024, like now, malicious cyber actors employed by the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, including Masoud Jalil, Saeed Agamari, and Yasser Balaghi, prepared for and engaged in a wide-ranging hacking campaign that used spear phishing and social engineering techniques to target and compromise the accounts of current and former U.S. government officials, members of the media, non-governmental organizations, that's usually NGOs, and individuals associated with U.S. political campaigns. Of particular note, in paragraph 2 on page 2 of the indictment, in and around May of 2024, after several years of focusing on compromising the accounts of current and former U.S. government officials and using some of the hacking information or infrastructure from earlier in the conspiracy, the conspirators began targeting and successfully gaining unauthorized access to personal accounts belonging to persons associated with U.S. presidential campaign number 1. Let me translate that, the Trump campaign, including campaign officials. So they went there first. I wonder what they thought they were going to have. I'm over to page 3. They broadened it as late as June of 2024. Look how current this investigation is. Just 2 months ago, June of 2024, when the conspirators engaged in a hack and leak operation in which they sought to weaponize, there's weaponization, campaign material stolen from the Trump campaign by leaking such materials to the media and individuals that the co-conspirators or conspirators believe were associated with the U.S. presidential campaign. Number 2, now they're stealing and leaking to the Biden-Harris campaign in a deliberate effort, in their own words, to undermine the Trump campaign and advance the 2024 election. We don't like that as Democrats, as liberals, as Republicans, as patriots. That's what we're going after. And look at the mirror and look at the surveillance and the surveilling of these bad guys as recently as June and even September to break it all down. But as you heard from the press conference, there's no evidence that the Biden-Harris campaign benefited from it. But there was a leak. We had a report of it. The J.D. Vance dossier. It's hard to believe that he was actually vetted by Donald Trump. To see him in action on the campaign trail when he's not attacking women of all ages, childbearing women, women who want to have a career and children, women who own pets, women who he wants to sideline from voting and making policy in America, going after the black and brown Americans of America in attacking Haiti, showing his lack of geography, suggesting that there's a border between Haiti and Ohio, using memes to pay back, I guess, the media and other people because he was accused of having sex with a couch. So now he's going after the poor Haitian people. His involvement with Project 2025. Do I go on? His 2008 attacks on Donald Trump, in which he said out loud in interviews while he's trying to sell and shill his book that Donald Trump was an American Nazi, that he was a needle in the arm, like a narcotic in the arm of America. He was vetted? All right, well, let's assume he was. And there's a white paper, a dossier. It got leaked out. Even the Iranians know what a weak, unserious candidate J.D. Vance is. And to embarrass Donald Trump, all they needed to do is release the dossier. All right. It continues on page 13. I'll give you the kind of highlights of the indictment. Between in and around May of 2024 and through this month, or September 2024, the conspirators' targeting efforts led to the attempted compromises and successful compromises of the following individuals. And here they go. U.S. Presidential Campaign 1, Trump. U.S. victim number 10 was a former informal political consultant to Trump. 2 of U.S. victim 10's personal email accounts were successfully compromised by the conspirators. U.S. victim number 11, there were a dozen U.S. victims, was an official for the Trump campaign, and their email account was successfully compromised illegally. Victim 12, come on down, that worked as an attorney representing the candidate Trump. I wonder which one that was. Could it have been Alina Habba? She works on the campaign. I could see her being an idiot and having her email compromised. They sent her some sort of spear phishing link. Hey, your Chase bank account, I'm making this up, has been compromised. Compromised spelled wrong. Click here to talk to a representative. Click. They're in. U.S. victim number 13. Oh, we have a baker's dozen now. Was an official in the Trump campaign. And victim 14 was a former U.S. Department of State official and an advisor to the Trump campaign who was also victimized. And so what are they seeking in this 40-page indictment? Well, they want them to go to jail for a long time. These are all things that are worth 20 to 40 years. Now, they're in Iran. Let's do a little lesson here. Breakout session, Patreon, Legal AF breakout session here on our new YouTube channel of what happens next. You got to get them extradited. The chances of them being extradited are not good. Not good. I have a better chance of becoming the first Jewish pope than they do of being sent here by Iran. But once they get the judgment against them, against these bad guys, then they can look for assets in America, the best way that the U.S. government knows how to do through its intelligence operations. And they will find straw man bank accounts and assets belonging to the Iranian National Guard. They will freeze those assets. They will find these fake and phony charities allegedly operating for Iran, or businesses in the United States that ultimately are illegal conduits for cash back to Iran, construction companies, PR firms, and the like. And they'll freeze their assets, and they'll get those assets civil forfeited over to the U.S. government. They'll collect hundreds of millions of dollars off of this final judgment, and they will be tried in absentia. These people aren't showing up. These three guys are not getting local U.S. lawyers to appear for them. I don't think. I think they will take a default judgment or a default conviction, if you will. They'll go through the process. They'll make sure these guys are never coming here. But they'll then be part of Interpol. And if they ever try to transit, because sometimes they get lazy and they end up in another country and they get caught in an airport and boom, they get picked up. Right? And of course, they always have to look over their backs for drones and drone strikes following them and their families for the next, 10 years or more by, intelligence. Let's just put it this way. The intelligence community is worldwide, including in the Middle East. So we got that going on. So that's what's going to happen next. It's going to be this sort of trial in absentia against these through a judgment against them for their assets, forfeiture as the government then takes the judgment, U.S. government, and looks around for phony Iranian assets. At the same time, the Treasury Department under Joe Biden has already strengthened the sanctions and seized assets because these guys, they don't live in caves anymore. It's not like Osama bin Laden. Even Osama bin Laden didn't live in a cave for that long. He eventually got off into and lived in the middle of a neighborhood, a nice leafy neighborhood in, we saw Zero Dark 30 and was eventually taken out by the American military. So they try to disconnect from the rest of the world, but they're hackers. They live on the internet. They live in social media. This is what they do for a living. They live on cell phones and burner phones. And so they will eventually, they don't want to, they have assets and they've got things that they don't want to lose. And so that's what's going to happen in the next steps. We'll continue to follow it. But I think the takeaway here on this new Legal AF YouTube channel, have I mentioned? It's a new YouTube channel that we need subscribers for to continue our content at the intersection of law and politics. Free subscribe. There's a little ad in the middle of my pitch. We got to talk about these things because it completely explodes the myth that the Department of Justice in the hands of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is weaponized against Donald Trump. Because if it was, I'd have nothing to talk about. They go after bad people, foreign and domestic, that are trying to F with our elections, regardless of where it leads, right? Just as they went after, in the same breath that they went after these Iranians, they went after ultimately a Tennessee right-wing media company that makes podcasts of all things by right-wing bro podcasters, heavy on testosterone, low on brain cells. Just leave it at that. And Russian television gave $10 million to this Tennessee podcasting company producer. They were all excited. They got, oh my God, $10 million from Russian TV. And they started to put in the minds and in the mouths of these podcasters pro-Russia, anti-Ukraine, anti-American foreign policy comments. I was watching some of it, these guys are just basically an outlet for Putin. And then they said, oh, we were victimized. We didn't know the Russian television was trying to influence us. And they got indicted. The Russian television employees got indicted. They were so cheeky and transparent, Russian TV, about trying to influence our elections. They actually, in an interview, told Reuters magazine or Reuters reporter, there's three things you can count on: death, taxes, an old U.S. line, and Russian interference in your elections. That's how cocky they are. But so, the rain falls equally on the rich and the poor. And the rain at the Department of Justice falls equally on any criminal trying to do harm to America, regardless of which side of the political aisle they're trying to benefit. We'll continue to follow it all right here. Have I mentioned yet we've got a new YouTube channel? We're trying to build it. I'm going to curate it, just the way I've done all my work over in the Midas Touch Network. Podcast, Legal AF, long form, Wednesdays and Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Still with, of course, the Midas Touch Network. That's our platform. Those are our brothers. Those are our mama and our papa. We're staying there. But this is an exclusive new channel in collaboration with MTN that I'm gonna bring you all the stuff that you've loved. No Smoke or Sunshine at the intersection right here. Find out what 40 million people a month already know. That Legal AF is the home of law and politics commentary and analysis like no other on the YouTube world. I defy you to find something that's better than what we're producing. You're going to hear from new commentators and old ones. When I mean old in age, I mean just ones you know and love from the Midas Touch universe are going to be coming over here, over to Legal AF as well. And a new show we call Unprecedented. Every week we're going to be covering the United States Supreme Court from top to bottom and side to side, from ethics scandals and leaks to cases they took and cases they decided not to take and their ultimate orders that they issued and how it impacts America and our politics and our life and our law. So I'll continue to follow it all right here. So until my next hot take, until my next exclusive content right here on this Legal AF MTN YouTube channel, this is Michael Popok and I'm reporting. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.